Hi, we're here today to talk about a very typical Brazilian dish that's done with tapioca flour. And I know where your mind is going with this, but it's not the tapioca that you're used to. It's actually a starch, very much like cornstarch or potato starch, that comes from the yucca root, which is indigenous to Brazil, South America and Central America. So the first thing I wanted to show you is, in order for this dish to work, you need to hydrate the starch overnight. Well, 3 hours minimum, but preferably overnight. So what we do is, it looks very much like cornstarch. You can see here, right? It's white and it's powdery and it's very fine. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a slurry. You know, the same slurry that we do when we thicken sauces and other things. So I need water to start with. Cold water is perfectly fine. You don't wanna add any heat to it at this point. And then you basically just add the starch like we would do if you're doing, you know, pastry cream or anything like that. And then you stir it. So it looks like a milky concoction, which is a slurry. And then you gotta let it sit. As I said, minimum 3 hours, ideally overnight. It's gonna settle to the bottom, the water is gonna rise to the surface, and then I'll show you now what we do with that product once it's done. You're basically gonna drain the water and then we're gonna cook with it. The beauty about this is it's completely gluten-free. It's being used obviously in Brazil because it's the indigenous flour. And when the Portuguese got there, that's what the Indians knew what to do with it. But it's now very much in vogue everywhere because people have celiac and they have allergy and intolerance to gluten. And this is a very fun way to make pancakes, pizza, anything really that you want to play with. And it's fat-free to boot. And you can't go wrong with that. So we're just going to put a little bit here. Okay. You basically push it through a sieve so that you break it apart, because now it's really, as you could tell by the noise, it's rock solid. So you're going to push it through the sieve, and you're going to make it airy and fluffy. You can see that. It's like you're doing powdery sugar. It's really fun. This is a fun project to do with kids, too. See, no oil, no nothing. You're just running it through the sieve, getting it nice and powdery. And this is going to be basically your dough. There's no flour, no egg, no oil. It has, I forgot to tell you that, to the water, you got to add like a little bit, like a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, just for added flavor. It's not really doing much for it except for flavor. So now you run it through the sieve. You're done. And this is your dough. That's how easy it was. Now, traditionally in Brazil, this is done as in action stations, actually, at hotels and things like that, or at homes. That's where it started. You use this as a base of a dough, and then it's extremely versatile because it's so neutral in flavor. So today I'm going to show you 3 different fillings, as per se. 2 of them are savory and 1 is sweet. And there's a million different variations that you can do. The first one is with sauteed chicken. And I did that, I poached the chicken. Then I sauteed it, you know, with aromatics and shallots and garlic and a little tomato, salt, pepper. And now I'm going to reheat it and I'm going to fold in some cream cheese. And that's your filling number 1. And I'll show you how to cook it. So I have the chicken here with me. And as you can tell, it has been already sauteed. You got the tomatoes. I added a little olives for flavor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly reheat it, so I can fold in the cream cheese. While that is reheating gently, I'm going to get the dough started. Non-stick pan, you don't use oil. This is a very, very easy, clean dish to make. I'm going to put it on low heat. Okay. Now I got to put my glasses on. And spatula. All you need is basically a spatula. And you're going to add the tapioca, about 2 tablespoons should be more than enough. This is probably already enough. Okay. And you gotta use your hands. That's why I got gloves on, because basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna pat it down. and press it down. And the heat together with the moisture, I'm gonna add a little bit more. It's gonna start kind of gluing it together. You know, starch has a lot of glue in it. It's already kind of, I can tell just by softening up with the heat, and then it's kind of forming already a patty. In the meantime, my chicken is already warm. I can hear it, so I'm going to take just about a little bit more than or less than a tablespoon. Add it. And then just fold the cream cheese in. At this point, you can even turn it off and just go with the residual heat. All right, and that just adds that creaminess to the chicken. And while that's getting all happy, we're gonna look at our dough again. Gonna get a little spatula. And just kind of gently release it. And flip it. Once you got that done, not too much mess, you're gonna add your chicken. Half of it, no, the half of the pancake. We call it kind of a sort of a pancake. And then the other side is basically toasting. At this point in time, you're toasting the grain, and then you're gonna fold it. I don't know if you guys can hear the ch noise. Makes a nice half moon. So no oil. And then you flip it again to the other side. It is supposed to be creamy white. It's not a dish that has color associated with it. So you're like, you know, looking for a brown color. And then, once it's nice and warm, you slide it out of the pan. Now, if you ever had anything like this, like in El Salvador, they have pupusas. It's a very similar thing. It has to be served with a flavor contrast. So this is a vinaigrette, very common that we do in Brazil. It's kind of a hybrid between the salsa that we know from Mexico and the chimichurri from Argentina. So it's basically onions, tomatoes, everything brunoise, and red bell peppers, and then you put equal parts of olive oil, water, and white wine vinegar, and you blend it together, like you mix it together. And again, let it sit in the refrigerator. If overnight is possible, it's even better. If not, at least for 3 hours. So it gets all the flavors get combined and mature, and then you basically just do it on top, like a little curtido, like they have it for pupusas. And that helps moisten up, and it adds flavor to it. And there you go. That is a breakfast chicken stuffed tapioca with vinaigrette on top. So today we're going to make a Brazilian style margarita pizza that is gluten-free. So we push it through a sieve with your hands. That's the best way of doing it, so you can get all the little clumps out. And look at how fun this is. It's a project you can make at home with your kids. Safe, fun. Just a little bit more. And that will be the base of our pizza. Another great thing is all you need is a non-stick pan. No muss, no fuss. Get it nice and warm. While I have that going, for the margarita, we're going to do tomato. Fresh basil, can go any other way, right? And then some mozzarella cheese and a little bit of olive oil to finish it off. So the pan is getting nice and hot. I got our mise en place ingredients here, and a little knife. So you start by putting the dough into the pan. You know what, the best thing here is your hand, because you gotta kind of sprinkle it around. That's why I'm wearing gloves. And then you press it down. And the hydrated starch, the moisture in the starch, will start warming up. And then the starch will sort of kind of form a glue and stick together. So no eggs to bind it, just the heat and the starch. I'm gonna put the heat down a little bit. You don't want to burn it at this point. When you're starting to form the crust, you basically just need to work gently and then push it down. And it's very rustic, it's artisanal. You see, no tossing, no stretching, no nothing like that. It's just kind of bring it down, bring the heat a little low. And then while that is going, I'm gonna work on our topping. So I have a tomato here, fresh tomato. Put your thumb in about 1/4 inch off of the blade so you don't poke it through and cut yourself. Take the core out. Okay. Then I'm going to do slices in a little bias, about 1/8 inch. It's nice, fresh, healthy. Put that to the side. That's your tomato. And then we're going to do a little classic chiffonade. Okay. And for that, I need a bigger knife. The right tool for the right job. That's about good. That's all I need. No, you'll run away. Pushing it down so that it gets nice and tight. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add the cheese. Nice mozzarella. You could get really creative here, add different cheeses, a little Asiago, a little Parmesan, even some Gruyere. I mean, whatever you like in your pizza, you know. It's really free form. Some slices of tomato, freshness and flavor. Add a little moisture. And then I'm going to let it cook a little bit, and we add the basil towards the end. And while that's cooking, tapioca, it's called tapioca in Brazil, and it comes from the yuca root. And it's a starchy root like potato, and then they make the starch flour out of it. It's 100% gluten-free, and it's extremely gelatinous. It has more starch than potato does. That's why you're allowed to do that. You can't do the same thing with potato starch. Okay. I'm gonna add the basil. And just let it finish cooking. So now that I finished putting the basil, I'm going to put it in the oven at 350, about 3 minutes, 4 minutes tops, just to melt the cheese and get everything nice and gooey, and you're ready to go with your gluten-free pizza. Okay, so let's check out our pizza. I think we're just about done. And voila, look at how pretty this is. And then you just kind of slide it into the plate. And then just drizzle a little olive oil. You can add your favorite toppings like a little crushed red pepper, or just leave it as it is, beautiful, natural, and fresh. And that is your margarita pizza, gluten-free, made with tapioca flour. I'm here with you now to show you how to make a delicious gluten-free dessert using tapioca flour. You gotta use your hands. You break it with your hands and you push it down. Just kind of break all the clumps out of it. Just a couple of tablespoons. This is just more than enough. Okay. But before we start cooking it, I want to make you the ganache that's going to go with it. And that is made with condensed milk and Nutella. Okay. We're going to put a little bit of condensed milk in a bowl. Add Nutella. And then we're going to warm it over a double boiler. And by doing that, you're creating a little bit of, I had the water already boiling, so I'm going to turn it off and let it sit in the residual heat. And while I'm cooking the rest, this is going to become just a wonderful, beautiful, creamy, delicious ganache. Okay? So I'm just getting that heat to kind of melt and infuse. And you get the smokiness of the condensed milk and the richness of the Nutella. So while that's getting nice and warm, I'm going to actually just move it a little bit out of the way so you can see what I'm doing here. Now, non-stick pan. Okay, no oil, nothing needed, just as easy, a non-stick pan, low heat. Okay, and then just use your hands. That's why I got the gloves on. Kind of sprinkle the tapioca and start kind of pressing it down. And the moisture that's in it plus the starch will start forming a glue. And it sets on the pan with the heat. Okay, so just kind of push it down. It's very rustic, country style. No, it's not the fancy French crepe. It's a completely different texture. Okay, but that's it. So you have enough to cover it, the bottom of the pan. Push it down with your hands. And let the heat do its job. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit. And while we have that action going, this is a dessert that can be done with any kinds of fillings, okay? We can have it with bananas. We can do it with fresh berries and nuts. We can do just with chocolate chips. Condensed milk, obviously, is the choice in Brazil because we use it a lot. You can do it with doce de leche, which is the condensed milk that's kind of cooked, right? This takes a couple of minutes to just kind of set, and then we're going to flip it. And once we flip it, we're going to stuff it. For the stuffing today, I have coconut, shredded coconut, sweetened, and I hydrated it in condensed milk. So just kind of combine it together. Let it sit for about an hour, I would say, so the coconut soaks up the moisture. And then that's going to be the filling of our tapioca. And then on top, we're going to do the Nutella ganache. So this should be almost ready to be flipped. Just kind of got the edges tucked in a little bit. Almost ready to flip. There you go. Alrighty then. Yay. Okay, so now that we got that part going, I'm going to get the stuffing. And it's very easy, just as I said, condensed milk and coconut. Spread it inside, in the bottom half. You can see how it start getting creamy already with the heat of the pan. Just toast the bottom of the pancake a little bit. Let's take a look at our ganache. That's nice and warm. Yeah, that's what you want. You want to be able to pour it. Very good. So we're going to fold. I don't know if you can hear the sizzling, but it's just a lot of heat going on. Flip it a little bit. Get both sides nice and warm. And that's it. We're going to just slide it. Slide it in a plate. Drizzle a little bit of our ganache. Nice and rich. Some toasted coconut. I toasted in the oven at 350 for about 10 minutes. And a berry to finish it off. And that is it. Tapioca pancake stuffed with condensed milk and coconut, and topped with a Nutella ganache. And here they are, our 3 different dishes with tapioca starch. The pancake stuffed with chicken and topped with the little vinaigrette curtido, the open-faced margarita pizza, and the dessert stuffed with condensed milk and coconut and topped with Nutella ganache.